Life speaks. It speaks through struggles and success, through music and messages, the preconceived and the unexpected. Whether you are in the depths of the valley or in the midst of your mountaintop experience, everyone needs to be encouraged from time to time. Here we will share stories of strength, testimonies of triumph, verses of victory, observations, and information meant to touch the heart and uplift the soul, to keep you on your path of purpose and navigate this thing called life with power and authority. This is Andrea Hines, and I'm your host for When Life Speaks, here on ALH Broadcasting, an affiliate of the Streaming Inspirational Broadcast Network. I am glad you accepted the invitation to join us tonight. There's something in this broadcast just for you, and if it is going to be a blessing to your life, it will be to someone else as well. So share, tag, start a watch party, and invite someone you know to join us. Then turn down the volume of life and get ready to receive, so that when life speaks, you'll speak life. Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to When Life Speaks. This is your host, Andrea L. Hines. Hey, good evening there, Linda Cooks. Glad to have you on. And hey, Victoria Henderson Poole, good to have you in the house tonight. Bernice, how are you doing? Good to have you in the house as well. I'm so happy to be with you all this evening. I tell you what, we've got a wonderful guest. We have a great show planned, and I'm just excited. I've been excited all week, ever since I knew this young lady was going to be with me, and I'm really, really happy that she is this evening. You know, we air every Thursday at 7 p.m., and our shows come in different segments. Sometimes we do have stories of strength. We have amazing testimonies of triumph. We have segments that we call Keep Faith Flowing, where we just talk about the word and the things in the word that are helping to grow us and strengthen us. And we have also have the power of one. And tonight is from that segment, the power of one. And I'm going to tell you about that a little bit more in a few minutes. Summer's coming up, and everybody goes on vacation in the summer. And guess what? I'm going to go on vacation too. Yes. So there are going to be some replays that we're going to do, and you can help me with that because we have had different programs and different topics that we have covered. If there is a particular topic that you would like to hear again, be sure that you send me that information. Send it to my email at speaklifewithandrea@gmail.com. That's speaklifewithandrea@gmail.com. We have done segments on mental health. I'm doing good, Bernice. We've done 6 segments on mental health. We have done money matters. We have done things with estate planning and wills and that information that you all requested. We've talked about love them and leave them, talked about relationships. We have talked about how to keep your family going. We've talked about coming off of COVID and what we were going to do different this year and what we learned from our experience with that in the past. So if there is something in particular that you want us to revisit, just be sure to send me an email and let me know about it, and I will put it in the queue for real. So let's see. There any other Nope, I don't think I have it. Oh, look, guys, if you have not signed up for it, be sure that you sign up for your When Life Speaks newsletter. It comes out the first Monday of every month, so it's going to be coming out real, real soon. And I hope that you get it because we have some real good, encouraging articles in there. And we introduce you to people who are business owners and who are doing things in the community. And we want you to be a part of that. So be sure that you sign up for your When Life Speaks newsletter. But now for tonight, I got to tell you a little bit about this young lady. I tell you, when you get brains and beauty and a business owner and you put all of that together, you got a powerhouse. You really, really have a powerhouse. And we have that powerhouse with us tonight. She's founder and director of Rhoda Generation. Her name's Jasmine T. Young, and she's a native of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. She graduated from Marquette University and received her bachelor's degree in, of all things, criminal justice and law studies. She has experience working in trauma-informed, family-focused, community-based practice at Lad Lake Organization, which their mission was to guide the growth of at-risk youth in order that they reach their potential and live responsibly. Specifically, she provided counsel and guidance to 13 to 18-year-olds who were sex trafficked. Additionally, she interned for Southwest Keys program as a juvenile probation and parole case manager. Wow. Her passion is to serve and advocate for youth, specifically to enhance their self-confidence, decision-making strategies, and leadership skills. We are blessed that Jasmine now resides in Durham, North Carolina, with her son Zaire Wilson and her parents Nicole and Dion Young. During her free time, as if she would have any free time, but during her free time, she enjoys watching crime TV shows. I'm with you there, Jasmine. Singing and attending church. So we're going to take a little quick break right here and to give you time to find your key, to put some hearts up there. So when we come back, we will be ready to talk to Miss Jasmine Young. Hang in there. Here we go. Welcome, Jasmine. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I need a soundtrack that's got applause to it. So I can really bring you in. Good evening, lady. How are you?
I'm good. How you doing?
I'm great. I am great this evening. And I tell you what, I have been, ever since I heard about your organization and some of the things that you were doing, I thought everybody needs to know about this young lady. They need to know about the Rhoda Generation and what you're doing and what you want to do. And it's so, all of us have a passion for something.
Mm-hmm.
But and sometimes your head and your heart connect with that passion, but very often we don't take it to the next step so that it can manifest.
Yeah.
And I just want you to share with the people tonight, because this is a huge an organization that has a huge impact And there are just so many things that you can do in terms of the Rhoda generation. So I'm going to dive right in tonight because I don't want to miss anything. But well, first, why don't you tell the folks what Rhoda stands for, and then tell us a little bit about where it started, because it didn't start here in Durham. So tell us what it stands for and how you got started.
Sure. So RHODA is an acronym for Raising Humble, Obedient, Daring Adolescents. It's a mentoring program ages 12 through 18 years old, and it did start in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, where I'm from. So that started about 2010, 2011 when I was back home. And now it has, I did close it when I come here. I moved here May 16th. 2016, so almost 5 years now. And so super excited about that. And when I moved here, I did decide that I wanted to go ahead and start it here in North Carolina as well. So we are coming up on our 4th year of having Rhoda here in Durham, North Carolina.
That's awesome. That is really awesome. But tell me, I was looking here and looking at your background, the trauma informed, family focused, community based things that you did, and working with youth and that whole segment of community, if you will, that deals with the sex trafficking and all of that. What was it? What was it? A combination of those things? Was there something in particular? Was it an event, an experience? What made you decide to do this mentoring program on the level that you're doing it?
Yes, ma'am. So my bachelor's degree is in criminology and law studies. And of course, I had to do some internships. And so the one thing that, couple things, but the one thing that made me do it was I was working at Loud Lake, as you mentioned, and the youngest young lady I worked with who was sex trafficked was 9 years old. And that really broke my heart, and so that was one big thing. And I still didn't know exactly what I wanted to do, but I knew I wanted to work with young women specifically. And so prayed about it. Back home in Wisconsin, my dad was also a pastor. And so I worked in the youth ministry at his church, of course. And so he was praying, and he said one day God had told him the name. It was supposed to be called Rhoda Generation, but it was up to me to figure out what to do with it. um, a lot of prayer went into that. And honestly, back home in Milwaukee, when it was called Rhoda Generation, that's all it was. There was no acronym. It was not until I moved here to North Carolina where I was asleep one day. God really speaks to me in dreams. And I remember in clouds in my dream, like the words raising humble, obedient, daring adolescents came up, and they were just like floating around. And I remember waking up, calling my dad and saying, Dad, I don't know what this means. I don't know what it means. And he said, Jasmine, that's RHODA. That's Rhoda. I was like, oh my goodness. And so from that day on, that's where the acronym came from. And that's how we kind of just live by that. So it was a twofold, that my experience with my internship, and then also God giving my dad the name and just tell me, just carry it. And everywhere, we just prayed on it. Everywhere that I went on with it, God has literally led my steps and made it that doors constantly keep opening for the mentoring program.
Mhm. Tell me a little bit more about those steps, because a lot of times, like you and I had been talking before the show, people have a passion. Everybody has a passion for something. And
Mm-hmm.
prayerfully, it's a passion that will help other people.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't always get to take or understand what to take, what steps to take in order to start bringing it to fruition, in order to see the manifestation of it. So tell me, what were some of the first steps that you took to solidify this plan that you had for the Rhoda generation?
First step was finding a logo. That was
Okay.
difficult. I
Uh-huh.
didn't know. So I'm not a real creative person when it comes to like being artistic. And so I was just trying to figure out will really just stand out. And if I do something artistic, it has to be very simple. Like I like clean, sleek, like, very something very simple. And so I think that was the first process. It was an LLC first, and so that was the first thing I did was go ahead and get the LLC, make sure nobody had the name. And so it was not until November last year that we changed it into a 501c3 nonprofit
Okay.
organization.
Mhm.
But again, that's a process as well. It was as I was doing this and researching, I was like, this really shouldn't be an LLC. And sometimes you just make not. Sometimes you make mistakes, in the process, and you just find out what's best for you. I sleep with a journal next to my bed because, again, I said that, God speaks to me in dreams. Sometimes I just wake up and I kind of write down what I saw, or throughout my day I'm writing something in my notepad on my work, on my cell phone, and just thinking about those different things that I want to do. Something we'll talk about later, that's coming up this year. I have dreamed about since I was in Wisconsin, and this is the first time it's going to happen. So knowing that, although there's a process and there's longevity in what I'm doing, I'm not anxious about going through the process. I know what I'm supposed to do. I know what the end looks like. And I literally just write them down and watch them fall into play every day.
That's it. That's it. I like that. I like that. You know the end, and you're
Yes.
letting God fill in the blanks and direct
Yes.
you and guide you through the rest of that process, and that's
Mm-hmm.
awesome. Sometimes we don't go back to Him often enough to
Mm-hmm.
take the baby steps and do the progression, but
Mm-hmm.
when you do, it always turns out exactly the way that it should. Now,
Exactly.
let me ask you, how did you go about finding the young people to mentor, and how did you find mentors for them?
Sure. So I started off with a Instagram page. So the Rhoda Generation Instagram page is Rhoda_generation, and I just began to post about what mentorship was. And there were several posts that was just saying like, "Hey, we look for mentees. We're opening up in this area." And so I created some flyers, start posting them. I would go to the malls and put them in different stores that I think young people will be in. I remember going to the church, and I have quite a few young ladies that's part of our church that's in our program. And so that once I began to get a little bit of buzz, people start hearing about it. Now it's word of mouth. And so our Instagram page is really growing. And now people are starting to kind of hear what we're doing. We're often in the community because part of my program is every quarter we do community service. And by
Mhm.
us doing community service, people hear about us from that. One of the big community service projects that we put on was a vendor fair. And that was led with over 50 vendors there. So there we are, getting our name out to 50 people right there, So doing those type of things. I did the exact same thing for my mentors.
Mhm.
So I put out posts that was just saying like, "Hey, look for mentors." And in doing that, we conducted a lot of interviews. Everyone is background checked that I allow to work in my program. I am very, very particular in who I allow to be in the program, especially because we are working with youth.
Mhm.
But yeah, I did the exact same thing, posting on Facebook, posting on Instagram, word of mouth, and that's how I kind of got the word out.
And it is growing. You are
Yes,
definitely growing. And I think you told me you have 12 people on staff working with you here in Raleigh. You have another Rhoda generation that you're opening up. Where was that?
that's in Charlotte, and so
Charlotte. Hmm.
Charlotte, right now they are opening. They have orientation May 20th. So we have some mentees that's coming in. They were just doing a few interviews with some mentors right before this call. So we currently have two people there. One my director and my assistant director, and then we're bringing on volunteers, mentors at this moment. And so yeah, we're moving out in Charlotte at this moment. They'll be officially starting in June, but they're doing like some orientation and interviews and all that good stuff right now.
Awesome. Awesome. Now, I wanted to know, because there are a lot of people who are looking to give back, looking to do something in the community. They don't know where to start. They don't know what to do and how to get going with that. If someone, let's say I'm in Florida and I'm interested in having rota generation in Sanford, Florida. See, I know some
Mhm.
folks in Sanford, and how would I go about it? How do you have a sort of template, a sort of program already outlined where you can give it to someone and say, okay, this is how you would get started. These are some of the things that you do, or would you work side by side with them? How would that work? Because I really see this, there's definitely a need for it. And I
Mhm.
can see rota generations everywhere. Uh,
Yes.
and I have some friends in California that I had mentioned this segment to them. And I actually do have some friends in Florida and South Carolina as well. So what would they do? You know, just kind of tap on your door and say, Jasmine, I want to do a road generation. Tell me what to do.
Yes, ma'am. So the plan is to have rota generation in all 50 states. I definitely want to go in the different countries as well, but before I die, that's the goal. That's the plan. That's what I talk to God about daily. So I do have a template that I am currently working through right now because,
Okay.
like I said, we're starting one in Charlotte. So this is kind of my guinea pig and make sure that it works. And so far, it's working. So what I would want someone to do is, they come to me and say they want to go ahead and start Rhoda out there. I do have a lot of policies and procedures in place. I have a certain way and style that we do conduct getting our mentors and our mentees. There's even getting a place that they will have to, find. They can start on Zoom, as that's what our Charlotte chapter is doing. I
Okay.
have a whole, like, we have every quarter what we're teaching about. We have all of that written out for each of our chapters that we will
Hmm.
soon open. So they will go by that. The process is what we're trying to look at is, if the first Saturday is going on in let's say Ohio, if I go there, I should be able to walk in there and say, oh, they're learning about credit this day, and I can just go in there and talk to them about that, and I can pop up say, hey, and this is what's going on. If I walk into somewhere in New York and they doing second Saturdays versus first, which is fine, but we're on credit, they should look exactly like what it looks like all around the world. And
Gotcha.
so I will have, just those things built in so that they will be able to teach exactly what everyone's talking about at the same time. So everybody's always on the same track
Mhm.
together.
That's great. That's great. And I noticed you started with credit was one of the first things you mentioned, and the financial piece is something that is so necessary and so needed.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm glad to hear that you are within that age group.
Oh, yeah.
Going to have some interest, some information and exchange about that. What are some of the other topics you want to cover?
So we do cover finance pretty in depth, and we normally have some guest speakers come in and discuss that. Right now, this Saturday is our Saturday. So we in Raleigh, Durham, we do every second Saturday. That's when we meet with our young ladies here. And so this quarter, we're actually discussing career. And so, like this Saturday, they'll be learning how to create a resume and cover letter. Next month, when they come in, they'll be learning interview tips. They'll learn how to dress. They'll learn how to respond to certain questions. And that third month that they go in, they will actually be going through interviews with some of our supervisors and managers that I know. And they're going to kind of do mock interviews that really help them learn how to go through those type of life skills that's not often taught in school.
Yeah.
So that way, when they come out of my sessions that I have, and they go into the real world at 19 years old or 18 or 19 years old, they're not shocked. They feel like, okay, I can do this. I can handle this. We do some public speaking. That's something that's really big for us. We talk about, sex, STDs. We talk about hygiene. We're covering all of the bases, and then we're going a little deeper. So we love we love what we have. I think my favorite topic that we just went over, it was something different. We did a healing quarter, and we talked about grief. We talked about, anger. I find that a lot of my young ladies, their father is not in their lives, and so there's a lot of anger sitting there. And so because of that, we really had to deal with depression. We deal with anxiety. We have some young ladies that was looking at suicide. We really dealt with those feelings. It's not something that's kind of, all butterflies when you come into the session. We really deal with real life, and then they walk away with a mentor that checks in with them every week, and so they have someone that's right there with them.
Okay. Now, do you require a certain time commitment from your mentors? Like if I signed up to be a mentor, there would be an expectation that I would do that for 6 months or do that for a year, or
Mhm.
what is the time frame for mentors?
The commitment for mentors is at minimum 1 year commitment.
1 year.
So
Okay.
yes, ma'am. Our I guess I treat them good because they don't leave me. So I'm grateful. They all love me and I love them. So that, yeah, the commitment is 1 year, but they aren't leaving. They are not leaving, and I love that about them. And my girls appreciate that too because they have someone that's consistent.
Okay, that's great. Now, how would somebody support your organization? Is there a particular sponsorship level or anything that someone gives they can? And if so, how would they do that? So, what does supporting your organization look like?
We have a few ways. We do have a Cash App, um, Rhoda Generation, the number 21. And we also have PayPal. It's our email, rhodageneration@gmail. Currently, we are running sponsorship levels due to our upcoming event later on this year, excuse me. And so we do have some sponsorship letters. We're currently working on getting some grants. But right now, we've received cash donations. We've received, like I said, Cash App, PayPal, and then we do have sponsorships going on right now. We're working on, because I'm, like I said, I'm always researching, so I'm working on something where people are able to just donate yearly. I hear about that
Yes.
a little bit,
Mhm.
so I'm kind of working on that right now. That's not completely put into play, but that's something we're working on.
Mhm. If there were three things, if you could name three things that you would like to see the young ladies in your program uh, walk away with, if
Mhm.
there were three things to say, I want to make sure that anybody coming through this program has these three things. And I know it's way more than three because just from the topics that you told us, we know there's a lot going on, a lot you have to touch on. But what would be three things?
I want them to walk away with a scholarship. I really get emotional with that because last year was our first year we were able to give a scholarship away, and it was $500. And I plan to do that yearly, but go on a greater stance every year. I want every time a young lady is grown out of our program to walk away with a scholarship. I would love for it to be a full ride. I'm believing God for that one day.
Right?
But yes, ma'am, but certainly a scholarship. I think I would want them to walk away with confidence. That's something I can't buy, but I want them to walk away with confidence, knowing that they can take on this world. They're not fearful, and they know that what they've learned in the program has equipped them for this life that they're going to live. And I think the last thing that I can probably think of that I want them to walk away with is a fighting chance.
Yeah.
Um, a fighting chance. If I can get them to be in their field that they really wanted to be in, and they have a fighting chance to do that and make their name great, I would love that.
Make their name great. I love that. I love it. I love it. Well, you mentioned something. You said that there's something coming up.
Mhm.
And Alan, if you are around and can put that flyer up for us, we would appreciate it. See if we can get it on the line. Um, and you said that this was 4 years in the making because you've been thinking about it for a while. There it is. Rhoda Generation present Rhoda's Royal Ball.
Mhm.
Sounds wonderful. I want to hear more. Tell me about this Royal Ball and yeah, talk about it. Talk about
Yes,
it.
ma'am. It has been 4 years in the making. I have been talking about doing a ball for the longest time. And so we are doing our first ball. So it's October 30th at 6 p.m. It'll be at the Durham Armory in Durham, North Carolina. So tickets are on sale right now, and they are $75 for adult and $50 for youth, and 3 and under is free. So you can go to our website at rotageneration.org, and you're able to purchase your ticket there. We also have sponsorship levels that we have. So if that's something that you want to look into, those also come with ads in the sponsorship level. So you can get an ad within the sponsorship level. Also have tickets within the sponsorship level. So I have those. We also have just ads that we are able to give, if you want to do a business card, quarter, half, or full page. And that all helps us bring the money into for this big day that's going to showcase all of our mentees. We are looking for we currently don't have any juniors, which is surprising, but we have everything right now. But we are still looking at giving some wonderful gifts and prizes. If we had juniors or seniors, we would have been giving out scholarships. Not to say if we receive a mentee that's a junior or senior, then they will be in the running to receive a scholarship. But that's something that we will be hosting yearly. And this will be the time that we give scholarships. But this is the first one. And we have a live band that will be there. We have an amazing cook. She comes by way of the River Durham, our church, Miss Michelle. And so we have some amazing food that will be there. But this night is going to showcase all of our young ladies. One of my young ladies, she is a dance choreographer at DSA, and she is choreographing a dance for the young ladies to perform this night. We're going to have like a silent auction happening. One of my mentees will also be showcasing some of her artwork. She wants to be an artist, and some of her art is amazing. So we have a pretty big night planned. We want people all over the world to come. We do have a hotel as well. So we have some rooms that are booked, that we blocked, excuse me. So we're ready to have the first one in the books.
Well, I tell you what, I'm going to say this to my listeners out there. Don't sleep on this.
Yeah.
Just don't sleep on this. Sometimes we hear about different projects, we hear about different programs, and we say, oh, yeah, that's something I'd like to support, or oh, that's nice. I'm glad that they're doing that. And time goes by and things happen, and you miss opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that we talk about all the time is wanting to be a blessing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm blessed, but I want to be a blessing. There's something that I want to do. And we don't always know how to connect into the community to
Yeah.
do things. Well, guess what, guys? Here is your chance. This is your
Mm-hmm.
opportunity. October will be here before you know it.
That's right.
If you have a business, and I got some business owners who are listening tonight, and you can advertise in what it is that Jasmine is putting together for this Royal Ball, be sure that you check out Rhoda Generation. It is a worthwhile project. It is making a difference in lives, and that's something also, Jasmine, that I want you to speak on for just a minute, because it is the give the man a fish, teach a man to fish syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we can do things, and it's great to take somebody to lunch. It's great to take them to a movie. It's great to have one-on-one, one-time fellowship. But
Mm-hmm.
when you're doing something that makes a lifetime change and can attribute to a lifetime transformation, guys, that is worthy to be supported.
Yeah.
Worthy to be supported. Can you talk about that for just a little bit, Jasmine? Because I know in the other things that you have done uh, with the at-risk youth, I know that you know where my heart is in terms of what
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying. So can you
Mm-hmm.
speak to that just a little bit?
Absolutely. So with my internships that I did, because I did have a second one as well. I was with only probational youth, our first time probational youth. And so I've done a lot of work with just at-risk youth. And what I wanted to do for Rhoda, I realized that a lot of our young ladies, they may not be at risk, but they still may need some guidance. And so I didn't want to make my program only at risk, So I
Mhm.
was able to do that with a lot of young ladies that come in, like they just need some guidance. And a lot of people think that you only need a mentor because there's something wrong with you, and it's not true. I have a mentor. I have a business mentor. And so my dad is kind of like my mentor because officially he's my advisor on my board, but that's a mentor for me. So at-risk youth or youth period, they just need someone to help them and tell them that you are doing great, you are worthwhile, you
Mhm.
are a king, you are a queen, you can do what your mind says. And that's the voice that I like to give them. Though I guess the one hardest part about this is probably as being Christians, when they have different values or what they're into, outside of that, and you have to remain their mentor. You can't put your judgment, of course, on them. And so I have learned to be in that vein very, very well and let them know, like, hey, I still love you, I'm still here with you. And that has made a world of difference for my young ladies. They're very, very open to speak with me. I train my mentors to do the same. We may not agree with what they're doing or how they're doing things, but make them comfortable enough that you let them know that, hey, we still love you. And that makes an impact on them, and that helps turn them sooner than later. We never judge, and we're never putting off our values and beliefs on them. We're just saying, hey, I love you, but have you tried it this way? And
Mhm.
that has really helped.
Mhm. And I tell you what, just the simple things that we don't often consider, but just by you referring to them as your young ladies,
Mm-hmm.
can make all the difference. Can
Mm-hmm.
make all the difference, because that says that you see good in them, you see value in them, you see worth in them, and sometimes that is difficult to come by at
Yeah,
any age.
absolutely.
So if you can make that deposit and make that change and make that turn in these formative years, then I think that is truly something that will carry them through when the time gets rough, and it will.
Oh yeah.
You
Oh
live,
yeah.
you live long enough, you're gonna have some storms, you're gonna have some tests, you're gonna have some
Mhm.
trials, but as long as you can see value and worth, I think that makes a big difference. Tell
Mhm.
us a little bit about some of the other challenges that you have had with this whole process and getting up and running and getting started.
I would definitely say COVID. COVID had put a damper on us. We were just getting going really good. We were, I think, 2 years in, maybe a year and a half in, when COVID had hit. And I was so excited because that January of 2020, I think we had gotten like 4 new mentees. And so I'm like, oh, this is gonna be an amazing year. It's gonna be great. I had the library, Stanford Warren down there by Central University. They heard about our program, absolutely loved it. So we had a free space at the library
Wow.
because they loved it so much. So we were there for over a year. And they called us in March of 2020 and said, you know, there's a pandemic going around. We have to shut everything down. And I'm like, what am I going to do? Because they need the face-to-face aspect of things.
Yeah.
And so, I said, well, I got to pivot. And pivoting for me is hard. That is so hard. I'm definitely a planner. And so when things change for me, it's hard for me to get, my footing and get back and right into it.
Yeah.
Which thank God, like now that I've been in business for a little bit longer and kind of see how things have to pivot often, I've gotten a lot better with that. And so what I ended up doing was we had to do Zoom for a little bit. I said I could not, lose my momentum in what I was having. And instead of being with the girls 2 hours, we went with them for one. Just doing Zoom. When it came around the summertime, we did, the temp checks, and we would do get COVID tests and things like that. But then we would go to the park so that we could still see them, but we were outside, one congested area. So we really just had to pivot and try to figure out like how can we still come and be with these young ladies. Now we're at a community center down in Durham, Lions Recreational Center, and the lady who's over it actually is from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and she remembered my program.
Oh.
And she saw that it was here, and she was like, you can have the space for free. And so I'm like, what? So it was things like that just keeps me going. Seeing that I did not tremble, I just learned to pivot. And since then, God is just blessing. He's just constantly blessing, opening many doors. And I know it's because I didn't quit. I remember what the end will be. And because of that, just because we had a little bump in the road due to the world, I couldn't quit.
That is it. That is it. Quitting is not an option.
Quitting is not an option.
And when you have this kind of program that makes this kind of impact, you can't let it go. You can't let it go. You will find a way, and you did. And I just think it's just admirable that you have done as much as you have in a short amount of time. 4 years is not a long time.
No.
And to know that you are, in three states, 3 cities, because you're here in Durham, you're going to be in Charlotte, you're going to go back and refire there in
Milwaukee. Yes.
And I'm hoping that out of this interview tonight and some of the people on the line, that you will be in some other places as well. And I appreciate you so much. And I appreciate you taking the time to be with us here on When Life Speaks. It is, look, folks, I don't always do this, but you need to get in touch with this young lady and support this organization. She's doing an amazing job. And for her to have a vendor event and have 50 vendors come out, and now to be able to put this ball together, treat a young lady. Find a niece, find a child at school, find a young woman that you can expose to something that they may not get the opportunity to do otherwise. It would be a good time for you to be able to connect with them. It would be a good time for them to be able to connect with some other people and be able to see the things that are possible. We gotta instill possibilities in people, because we are in a place where things can be or appear to be so hopeless. And as a young person, you can think and feel that you are so helpless. So to be able to get together, to be able to come out, to be able to, look your best, put your good stuff on, and just come on out. Just come on out. I intend to be there.
Yes.
You know that, didn't you? But I do. I do.
Come on out.
And I don't want to be out there by myself. So look, Victoria and Linda and everybody, all my faithful folks out there, and part of the When Life Speaks Village, you all come on out too if you're in the area. And if you're not, this be a good time to visit some folk in North Carolina. So think about that in October and come on and join in the fun and join in the purpose, because there
Yes.
definitely is a purpose. Well, Jasmine, do you have any parting words that you would like to leave? Come on down. That's Alan. Alan's at it again.
He is so funny to me.
But are there any final words of encouragement that you have for our listeners, either about the Rhoda generation or just in general about not giving up, or just having that passion enough to give you the staying power that you need?
That's exactly what I was going to speak on. It's just passion because, like you mentioned kind of earlier, some people just don't follow through with that. And I know for me, like I said, I'm a planner. So when things don't always go right, that does not mean you need to stop.
Right.
It may mean to pivot or find a different way. Failure is not an option, but if you failed, it at least lets me know that you tried, and
Yes.
just figure out another way to try differently to still get to that end point and goal. Go after your passion no matter what it is. I know I have a deadline of when I want to be off my regular job. And so
All
because of that, I
right.
have to go after Rhoda every chance I get. And so there's no stopping me. There's constant hustle and grind for these young ladies so that we can get to where we need to be. And I know my program is needed. And so I have to be able to be ready to push that curriculum out to all the states. And I'm excited. I'm hoping to hear some about someone in a different state that's saying they want this program there. I'll be glad to come down and get you all started. Yeah, it has to get out. So I'm excited.
Well, I tell you what, here at When Life Speaks and ALH Broadcasting, whatever we can do to help you, we are on board to do exactly that. So we speak into your life tonight for increase and
Yes.
for expansion.
Mm,
And I believe that God is going to grant you both, and He's going to fill in all the blanks. So you
yes,
just keep
Lord.
doing the part that you know to do, and
Yes,
He's going to take care of the rest. So
yes,
I thank you again. Thank you so much for being with me tonight. Listeners, thank you for being with me tonight. I can't have a show without you, so you got to come, you got to show up. And so I appreciate you all. And I look forward to you being with me next week. I'll be right here on Thursday night at 7 p.m. I'd love to tell you what our topic is, but I don't know yet. So you're going to find out when I find out. But come on back, because it's going to be good. It always is. But God bless you. Thank you for being with me. Come back next week and be ready to turn down the volume of life. Get ready to receive, so that when life speaks, you'll speak life. Hang in there. Jasmine, hold on once we close, okay? Good
yes,
night,
ma'am.
everybody. See you next week.